We're joined now live from London with Chris Doyle. He's the Middle East commentator and director of the Council of Arab-British Understanding. So Chris, good to see you as always. Now, I think the last time that we spoke, it was on the day of the ceasefire going into force, and you were actually quite scathing, I think, of President Biden. So your thoughts now on Donald Trump, the new US president, pouring doubt on the ceasefire holding?
Well, Donald Trump actually speaks for a lot of people. I think that we all know that this is a very precarious deal that's been agreed to. I think that what Donald Trump has said means that the key phases of 2 and 3, the second and third phases of this agreement, are increasingly unlikely, that Netanyahu will secure the release of some hostages, and we've seen 3 released, more to come on Saturday. But those phases that envisage an Israeli withdrawal from the Gaza Strip and the reconstruction of Gaza, which of course are absolutely crucial, they're much likely to come into being. And Donald Trump, very much as he said that Syria isn't our fight, it isn't our war, was also making the similar comments about Israel-Gaza. In other words, he's not going to get involved. But of course, the United States is involved. It supplies weapons to Israel. It's the biggest supplier of all these bombs. There is a strong hint that Donald Trump will resume the supply of 2,000-pound bombs to Israel that was suspended under the Biden administration. And of course, he's also signaled his intent regarding the West Bank, which I think is where we're going to see much of the struggle and the conflict play out in 2025 by lifting all the sanctions that the Biden administration had imposed, few as they were, on individual extremist settlers and settler groups. That actually gives the whole settler movement, the Israeli government, the belief that they can continue with amping up the violence, which we saw even yesterday, massive, huge attacks on Palestinian communities, in order to secure more land for those settlements in preparation for some form of annexation, perhaps this year.
Well, let's come to the possibility, of course, that this ceasefire does hold and that we get to the stage of the reconstruction of Gaza. Now, Trump has again made comments about that, and I wanted to get your opinion on the manner in which he spoke about the reconstruction of Gaza. How did that sit with you?
Donald Trump clearly does not want the United States to contribute to any reconstruction. That's in total line with his general approach to foreign affairs. He's suspended all US foreign aid for 90 days. I think we will see that continue for UN agencies such as UNRWA. And therefore, he is expecting others to handle this, other countries to pump in funds into Gaza. And he made this curious comment about that Gaza has to be reconstructed in a different way. Well, that's very typical Donald Trump. It leaves you questioning what he means. And he's trying to also engineer quite a positive horizon, saying, look, Gaza could be wonderful, it could be great. It has wonderful weather, it's a wonderful piece of real estate. That brings, back, obviously, the fact that he himself is a real estate mogul. But really, he's not coming forward with great solutions. I think the big question right now is, will Donald Trump and his various envoys just keep the pressure up on the Israelis that they were prepared to put on during December and the earlier part of January to get to the inauguration? It seems to me that all that he said yesterday is that the answer to that is probably no, and that he's not going to get too involved, and he is going to release the shackles, such as they were, that were imposed upon Israel. But that shouldn't excuse the Biden administration, because ultimately they were barely any shackles on what Israel was doing in Gaza, which many people still see as an act of genocide against Palestinians.
Okay, Chris Doyle, fascinating as always. We're going to have to leave it there. Chris Doyle, Middle East commentator and director of the Council of Arab-British Understanding. Thank you so much as always.